For the past couple of months, there's been a concerning situation brewing in regards to a popular musician and YouTuber called Black Gryphon. He's pretty well known, especially in the indie animation space. Things kicked off again recently when some new allegations surfaced, and it also involves an upcoming video game called Billie Bust Up. This video is on a serious topic, so make sure to take the time to watch until the end and do your own research as well. Like usual, I'll go through what happened, discuss the recent events, and give my personal thoughts at the very end. A lot of this was discussed by another YouTuber called Iox 4 months ago in an excellent video breaking it down. I'll have his video linked below in the description if you'd like to check it out. So the story starts with Black Gryphon, or Gabe. If you're not aware of who he is, he's an American singer, voice actor and YouTuber with over 5 million subscribers. He's appeared in a bunch of stuff, but you'd probably recognise him as the singing voice of Alistair in the Has-Been Hotel pilot, or Barnaby and Arthur from Billie Bust Up. You might also recognise him from some of his popular YouTube videos and songs, one example being the many voice impressions, the insane Has-Been Hotel song, and his work with other musicians like the Living Tombstone in No Mercy. This first allegation has been around for a while, but it was compiled on Twitter by one user called brewing. In a thread, it explains how Gabe is 33, his now wife Claire Corlett is now 24, and that they met while working on My Little Pony. Claire voiced the character Sweetie Belle in My Little Pony. There's various videos, posts and comments from 2014 showing the two voice actors together, highlighting that they were good friends. Throughout 2015, Gabe rented the guest room in Michelle Kraber's house. Michelle is a friend of Gabe and Claire and has appeared in countless videos with them. To a lot of people, this came across as very concerning because during this time period, Gabe was making very questionable comments on YouTube. A few discussing how large age gaps are fine, the worst example being one where he says he doesn't know why people put a huge emphasis on age. In 2020, people mentioned this and Gabe said in a post that they started dating when Claire was 20 and she asked him out. In response to this, Claire replied and the pair made a joke about her being groomed. In 2022, a situation unfolded surrounding Claire's father Ian. Allegedly, Claire's parents weren't invited to her wedding with Gabe. Ian ended up getting some harassment from My Little Pony fans and Saberspark got involved, which led to him making a few replies. In one tweet that got a lot of backlash, Saber said, "Claire had a crush on Gabe, but Gabe never reciprocated until she was around 20 or so. It's weird, but it was legal." In a reply to that tweet, the wife of one of Saberspark's editors says that she witnessed firsthand in person Claire try to ask out Gabe. Again, in 2022, Claire made a post about this. She explained that her parents weren't invited to the wedding because they were emotionally abusive to her. Around this time, some allegations surfaced of Black Gryphon being racist or alt-right based on their liking of some problematic tweets and his own Twitter replies. Following on, in 2024, these allegations resurfaced again and criticism was levied against the upcoming indie title Billie Bust Up since Black Gryphon has two prominent roles in the game. One of the game's creators, Katie, made a Discord announcement saying that they've looked into the allegations and found Black Gryphon as innocent and that he will be keeping his role in the game. There's some messages of Discord users discussing the incident, with Katie again saying that they've been shown evidence behind the scenes and believe that Gryphon is innocent. At the end of 2024, an anonymous account came out to detail their experience with Black Gryphon, alleging that he groomed them. A little later, the account came out publicly and they are called Destiny Doodles. They start off by saying that they don't have access to the Twitter account anymore and that it's deleted. They were 13 and drew My Little Pony art and made a Gryphon Sona for Black Gryphon. He followed her and they started messaging privately. They chatted for a while, things moved towards a sexual tone and they exchanged pictures. At one point they allege that Black Gryphon sent them a picture of his penis. At the end they say that the Billie Bust Up situation has disappointed them since they were looking forward to the game. It was at this point that criticism for Black Gryphon and Billie Bust Up really increased. There were a couple tweets discussing the situation with tens of thousands of likes. One Twitter user alleged that in the Billie Bust Up Discord server there was a groomer who the mods refused to ban because he was a high tier patron in the $100 tier. It was at this point on March 5th the Billie Bust Up team posted a large Google Doc addressing all of the claims. This document is extremely long, so just like before I will summarise and discuss the main points, but I will have it linked in the description with everything else if you want to give it a look yourself. The first claim they discuss is the $100 Patreon pledge. According to the Billie Bust Up team, the people in the server that knew about the groomer spammed general chat instead of messaging a mod. When a mod reached out to them, they refused to elaborate and said the guy was an old friend. Eventually, they explained that the guy was a groomer and the team investigated. Since the evidence was inconclusive, they did a vote which was split and put the guy on a watch list and he eventually left the server. They say that's where the situation ended, and the guy being a patron didn't factor into anything since they also banned and refunded someone else who donated 4.5k, so money doesn't impact anything. In the next section they briefly discuss 4chan and how Black Gryphon and Claire have been under attack by 4chan users for over a decade, since 4chan was closely linked to the brony community. After this is a segment from Michelle Kraber. She says that the narrative is false and Gabe has never taken advantage of them ever. The next portion is dedicated to addressing some of the ringleaders who have been pushing the allegations. The summary is that several of them have commissioned depraved artwork and have a history of doing awful things. The next segment gets into some more of the allegations. The first is that Gabe kicked Claire while paragliding. The document explains that in the video they actually perform a paramotor foot grab, which is a common technique, and they're both paramotor pilots. They say they never went to Gabe's wedding. One allegation involves Girl Scout cookies, with Brony fandom saying that Gabe is actively hanging around Girl Scouts amidst the ongoing allegations. The document explains that Claire and Gabe were shopping at Walmart, saw the cookies for sale, and promoted them on their social media to help them get more sales. Next, they discuss the disappearance of old tweets. The allegation being that Billie Bust Up is deleting old tweets to hide evidence. The response being that they didn't delete anything, however they have retweeted fan art for many years. When a Twitter account is deleted or deletes a post, it removes the tweet from the pages of anyone who shared it, causing the number on their profile to go down, therefore looking as if they're deleting tweets. They explain that they routinely block people who interact with bad faith individuals. The next claim that they address is that they're banning people in the Discord server that discuss the ongoing allegations. They explain that their Discord server is partnered and verified, and that there are minors present, so they have several rules against adult conversations. They explain how one user who was on Twitter saying they were banned were in the server trying to start a row, and after several warnings got banned because they were making several server members uncomfortable. Following on from this, they talk in detail about the yoga video. Basically, an old deleted video featured Claire and Michelle doing yoga with Gabe. They elaborate that the image used on Twitter was taken off 4chan in 2016 and has a browser's logo edited onto it. In the original recording, this isn't present, and it's just them doing yoga. They include a short GIF but not the full video. Next is them reaching out to the victim from earlier. They say that they used a third party to reach out but received no response. They explain that the victim regularly interacted with the Billie Bust Up fandom prior to the situation unfolding. This is a side note, but it was revealed shortly after on Twitter that the anonymous third party wasn't a member of the team, but just some random Twitter user that was recruited. The victim said they didn't receive any emails either. The doc addresses the claims that Gabe is alright. They say Gabe is a member of the LGBT community and includes several old tweets of him supporting diversity and being against fascism. They address the claim that there was a power imbalance at play with him and Claire. They refute this by saying that Gabe in 2013 only had 40,000 subs and 8,000 followers on Twitter. The next segment discusses James. They don't include images providing context, oddly, but I'll explain it. James is one of the lead programmers on Billie Bust Up. After the second set of allegations blew up on Twitter, James replied to a few tweets. In one, he says there's no evidence to support the claims. In another, he replies to a tweet about boycotting Billie Bust Up with "okay." One last example shows him saying that things are being blown out of proportion and that it looks innocent. James ended up getting a ton of backlash for these tweets and ended up taking them down. The Google Doc says that James isn't as active on Discord as the other team members. He regrets what he did and apologised. The doc says they don't stand by the way James handled things and that he doesn't speak for the team. The following page debunks the allegation that another random Twitter user is James on an alt account. And the last segment is 9 pages about Black Gryphon. It starts off by explaining that Gabe is ace. He is also an SA survivor. Gabe handed over access to his Twitter account and a 6GB Twitter archive file was downloaded. They looked through every direct message since 2011 and couldn't find anything inappropriate. They discussed some of the allegations from the victim, pointing out that at the time, in 2013, photos couldn't be exchanged through Twitter DMs and mentioning that Gabe was in the Navy in June of 2013. They say they believe that Gabe is innocent and that they think it should be handled by the proper authorities. They state that they're CSA and SA survivors themselves. None of Gabe's close friends have turned on him since the allegations have came out, and they hope the victim can find their truth and get closure. The final page is a personal note from the 2 people behind the doc. They talk about the ringleaders from earlier and that they have a personal vendetta against the team. They say they've spent 3 weeks of development time to make the document and it's taken a toll on both them and the game. Once this doc came out, it wasn't received very well at all. A couple of the main complaints being that the entire thing felt unfocused, the middle segments came across to people as victim blaming, and that there was a lot of holes in the document overall. As a result, on the 7th, they released a second version of this doc. The reason for this is provided in a Discord announcement. The doc was re-released to simplify key topics and remove 18+ segments so that it can be viewed by everyone. So it's been edited down to just 2 segments. The first is the patron Discord server situation, and it's identical to what was said in the original doc. The second segment is an edited version of the final portion about Black Gryphon. It includes an image and GIF highlighting how Twitter doesn't show messages from deleted accounts properly, with it crashing. However, they say that they searched through over 2,500 messages and images and couldn't find anything not safe for work in nature. They say he should be reported to the police and an official report made because he'd be happy to cooperate with the authorities. At the bottom it includes an extra line saying not to harass the victim and to treat them with kindness and respect. Similarly to the first version of the doc, this document again wasn't received very well. The same sort of complaints that it didn't include much evidence to corroborate the claims, that it was simplified down to almost nothing, and that it was trying to shift the blame. On March 8th, the Billie Bust Up Discord account announced that they are going to take a step back and focus on the game. They'll be passing the account over to someone else to use for updates and moving to a different one. This wasn't mentioned in any of the documents, but on February 28th, shortly after the allegations came out, the Living Tombstone unlisted their video of the FNAF Goth remix featuring Black Gryphon. This video had over 3 million views. It was removed off Spotify as well, along with the FNAF remastered song. There is a chance that this was taken down for another reason, but based on the dates, that's a pretty big coincidence. On March 13th, the Brony fan-owned account posted a large 200-page Google Doc that listed some of the original accusations and also rebuttals of some of the statements made by the Billie Bust Up team. I've already covered nearly everything that was included, but I'll have it linked in the description below as well. On March 19th, the alleged victim, Destiny, deleted their Twitter account and made a post on Blue Sky. According to them and the Brony fan-owned account, they were sent a legal document which forced them to remove some tweets. This obviously got a lot of backlash, with users mentioning that instead of making a response to the accusations, Black Gryphon has started sending legal threats. A little later, the Brony fandom account posted that allegedly Mob Entertainment, who are the creators of Poppy Playtime, launched an investigation against Gryphon and are cancelling a collaborative project between them, and they've cut him off. For context, Black Gryphon has worked with Mob on the Poppy Playtime games, one example being the creation of various songs for the 4th entry. So that's everything so far. I'll get into my thoughts. As you can see, this entire thing is very complicated. Part of that is because some of the allegations are very old, while some are new, and also just because the responses haven't been properly structured. I'll go through it bit by bit. First up, I think fans have every right to criticise or be concerned about the situation with Black Gryphon and his wife. Regardless of legality, it's very concerning, and I'd say most people would have no issue if he said it was inappropriate or off-putting. The tricky thing is that the people involved don't see an issue with it, so it's in a stalemate. There's a metric ton of screenshots and images, and the responses from the people involved on Twitter make it very messy. A lot of Black Gryphon's previous statements don't make sense or contradict things he's already said. One example being a tweet from 2024. One user says that it was inappropriate for Gabe to have a friendship with a minor who he later married. Gabe's response is that they weren't friends and they simply met a couple times at conventions and shoots for videos. This just isn't true. There's an abundance of videos and appearances of them together. One example, as mentioned earlier, was the wife of Saberspark's editor saying that she witnessed Claire try to ask Gabe out IRL when Claire was a minor. In the comments section of a video 8 years ago, one user asked if the pair was dating, with Gabe saying they were just friends. So this directly contradicts what Gabe said in 2024. Moving on to Billie Bust Up, it's actually disappointed me a lot. I was looking forward to the game and I've had it on my Steam wishlist since 2023. However, this whole ordeal has damaged my opinion of the game. This has been stated before, but it would have been relatively easy for the game and its team to just recast Black Gryphon and give his role to someone else, regardless if they think he's innocent or not. Although they're an indie team, the amount of time and money they would have saved by staying out of the entire thing would have been tremendous. Instead, they've taken a hardline approach and oddly stuck their neck out for him, which just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The original document had a few solid points, like the deletion of tweets and the apology from one of their team members, James. However, there's just way too many holes in the document. The first part of the doc oddly focuses on some Twitter users spearheading the allegations and that they're untrustworthy. Although there's definitely evidence to support this, and some of the Twitter users are quite aggressive, I don't think this document should be focusing on them first. The thing everyone came for is for Black Gryphon to finally respond. We don't get that, and fans have to tread through 30+ pages to finally get to the point. Linked in with that, it's odd that the Billie Bust Up team are basically God defending Black Gryphon here. As the documents show, Black Gryphon has gave them evidence to defend himself and also had other people speak out for him. But why hasn't he made a document or a proper response? To a lot of fans, it feels like he's sending out people to bat for him, and when they miss, they take all the blame. Black Gryphon should have made a response after the years of bizarre comments and contradicting statements, but there definitely should have been one after an alleged victim came out with their experience. The fact there hasn't is extremely baffling. As explained at the start, the Billie Bust Up team was shown evidence, which is why they took the steps they did, and the evidence shown later was most likely that 6 GB of Twitter DMs. Why wasn't this shown earlier? It's no wonder that people gave them flack when their initial response was them practically saying that they investigated themselves and found no wrongdoing. It wasn't a good look at all to act the way they did on Twitter and Discord. Like I said several times, they should have left the allegations to Black Gryphon to fight. They've put themselves in a battle they can't win, and all of the resulting fallout is going to ultimately cost them in the long run. Other segments of the doc just don't make much sense to anyone reading them. The part where they mention Black Gryphon as ace doesn't correlate with anything. His aceness doesn't have an impact on the allegations at hand, and people online rightfully mentioned that it was out of pocket and a weird inclusion. After the recent information on March 19th, it appears that Gryphon won't make a public response. Since the document from Billie Bust Up wasn't received well, Gryphon has probably been advised not to make a response and to instead pursue things legally. This doesn't necessarily mean everything said about him is true, but it's probably what his lawyers have said is the best action. Online, however, this approach won't be regarded very highly at all and will actually bring more attention to the allegations. You could also also argue that the entire reason Gryph0n made the document with Billie Bust Up was because he was pursuing legal action. So that's everything I wanted to talk about. Special thanks to Iox for his first video on the topic, and I'll also have various links in the description if you want to do some further reading. I'm interested to hear your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching.